Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, welcome to the podcast. I hope you've had a good week. I've been on the other side of the microphone this week. You can hear me on as a guest on Venus O'Hara's podcast. Venus O'Hara is a sexpert. Yes, there is such a thing. And it's called the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. My bit isn't too X-rated, but we do talk about intimacy and and dealing with emotions and all of that stuff. So have a listen to that. The Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. We talk about my sober journey, if you like, and so much of the stuff that I've come to realise over the last 3 years, 8 months. She says, dropping that little sober streak in there, around how we handle our emotions when we're not drinking. And of course, sober sex is a very big part of that. We've said many times before that there's, a good number of people who would never have had sex sober. What a sobering thought, my goodness. So anyways, you can have a listen to me there. What else do I have to share with you? We had another Sober by the Sea. Have I spoken to you since then? I don't know. Anyways, it was fantastic. It was just amazing to see transformations, people who are kind of just come in kind of all a bit chaotic and leave just feeling really clear on what it is they want for themselves, which is wonderful. So we do have spaces on our event on Saturday the 25th of September. So just go to thesoberclub.com/events and have a look if that's for you. What else do I want to share with you? Let me see. We have the pop-up shop, which is obviously with my imperfectly natural hat on, my recommendations of natural products and services. I run my Platinum Awards every year, and we've got a pop-up shop, a non-toxic pop-up shop. What that means is you can get to see some of the amazing products that are entered into the awards, some of the lovely natural and organic skincare and sustainable stuff that we recommend at Hello Love Studio in Bloomsbury. So that starts on the 13th of September, runs through to the 30th. So if you're going to be in London, it's really worth taking a trip to their lovely, funky little studio and vegan cafe. It's just a great vibe. I hope you can go along there. I'm going to be doing the awards announcement on the 15th of September. So for anyone who's got a natural brand who's also listening into this, it's super exciting. I just love sharing this stuff, and I do think everything that I do links together really well, because it's amazing how often people who start the sober journey, then a few months in, they say to me, I'm really getting stressed about what I'm putting on my skin, because I'm realizing that I'm not drinking alcohol anymore, but I'm sure as heck putting it on my skin along with a whole load of other potentially toxic bunch of chemicals. So have you got any suggestions? So I think all these things really do link together. It really is that holistic picture. That's what makes such a massive difference. There's been some lovely triumphs in the Sober Club this week, some lovely celebrations. One woman, I'm sure she won't mind me telling you, I won't name her, but she actually has bought a camper van with the money she saved. That is so cool. With the money she saved from not drinking, she's bought herself a camper van. How cool is that? This really, literally is life-changing stuff going on here. So make sure you check out the Sober Club if you haven't already. It just makes such a difference to be connected with like-minded people, and it doesn't matter if you're on day 1 or year 6. We have everything in between, because we're focusing on what we want, on creating that life that we love. My guest this week is Lorri Delahunty, and she's got such a fascinating story to share. Lorri runs Vegan Happy Clothing, a really great brand, and I came across her because this was linked to my awards and the stuff that I'm doing with the Platinum Awards. But then I suddenly found this whole backstory that Lorri has, so fascinating. So I thought I'd love her to share her story with you on the podcast. But before we do that, the number of times people will say to me, "Oh, I haven't found an alcohol-free drink that I like yet, because I used to drink X or I used to drink Y, so I haven't really found anything." And recently someone was saying to me, "Well, actually, I really like good cider, like proper craft cider, and I haven't found anything." So this is for you because this brand, Celtic Marches, have got literally the most amazing, actually craft alcohol-free cider. So I thought let's have a chat with Collette and Sue. My guests are Collette Coombs and Susan Vaughan from Celtic Marches, and I absolutely love the whole idea of this brand because I know that you've been doing this stuff, well, not you personally, but for 8 generations. Celtic Marches have been farming in luscious Herefordshire orchards. How you doing, guys?
Really well, thanks. Yep, good to be with you today.
Good to chat to you. So what we're talking about here is 8 cider apple varieties from this amazing cider brand. And the whole concept is based around this lovely strapline, pip to pint, which is just great. So before we get on to talking about the alcohol-free offerings you've got, can one of you just tell us a bit about the traditional values and maybe how it all started, and just tell us, maybe paint a little picture for us of this apple farm.
All right, so here we are in the rolling countryside of Herefordshire over on the Welsh borders, where we have just under 200 acres of commercial apple orchards, and we press them all, put them all into large tanks and let the juice ferment away until it's ready February/March time.
Yeah. When it comes to growing apples, how much is it affected, by the weather? Is it, are you sort of
totally
panicking? Right.
Yes,
okay.
Totally.
So what's it been like for the last couple of years then?
Not too bad at all. It's been quite reasonable this year. We like lots of rain, but also lots of lovely hot sun.
Right.
And we had a lovely blossom time during May. And the apple harvest is looking very good at the moment.
So Collette, what happened then when you guys decided to create a low alcohol or a 0.5% alcohol low alcohol cider? What was the decision around that?
So we were looking at the range that we provide now, craft ciders, and looking at the market and seeing if there's any areas we could develop our range more. And it was highlighted that the low and no alcohol sector of the drinks industry was growing. Some people just choosing not to drink now or choosing low alcohol options. We saw it as a great opportunity to develop a low alcohol cider.
And I mean, cider is interesting how it's still popular after all these years. In fact, it's made a bit of a comeback, really, hasn't it, in the UK?
Definitely. We were a bit slower behind the craft beer movement. And I always say that people have a cider tale to tell from their youth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's usually what we start drinking, isn't it? And as teenagers and uni or whatever. Yeah, because Definitely. It's cheap, I suppose. That's actually the reason. That's the truth of it, isn't it? But I'm not sure that's quite the case now. So the Holly Golightly, which by the way is just a fabulous name, the low alcohol apple is gluten-free and vegan. Is that right?
It is correct, Our full range is gluten-free and suitable for vegans. And because we have the pip to pint process, we have the control over the growth of our apples and what goes into our products, right down to the packaging of them.
Right. So what does that actually mean then, this pip to pint, which is a fabulous phrase?
So we are pip to pint within 5 miles. So we grow our own cider apples. We don't buy anything in, and then when they're ready after fermentation at the farm, they are then moved over to our packaging factory, which is 5 miles down the road. So we have really low food miles and full control over our production from pip to pint.
Excellent. So Sue, just tell us what the other alcohol-free products you've got them. So we've mentioned the low alcohol apple that's in bottles or cans. Tell us about the others.
Well, we've got low alcohol Holly Golightly apple. We've got low alcohol Holly Golightly Rosé. Then we have Pulp Apple Low Alcohol and Pulp Rosé Low Alcohol. And they're all extremely popular. We've been very, very pleased with the uptake of them to date. And we've just entered the Canadian market. So we're starting to actually export our low alcohol products as well now, which is very exciting.
Excellent. Yeah. I love your branding. I mean, it's really funky. You've obviously worked hard on that, and it looks great. And I'm sure that's part of the deal here, because, just because you're not drinking alcohol doesn't mean you want, your bottle and your can not to look good. So I'm sure that was all part of your thinking when you designed these. Are you in the bars and restaurants at the moment?
Yes, we are. We're in, but you could ask us to name bars and restaurants we're in. Of course, we sell our products through wholesalers and distributors, and therefore we don't always know the end venue where they end up. Quite often we can go into a venue and say, oh, there's our product, and we take a photograph, send it to our social media ladies, and we give it a really good shout.
Brilliant. So anyways, but people can buy the product direct from your website as well.
Yeah. Through our own Shopify shop and numerous others online. Yeah.
Do you want to give us that website then?
Over to you, Collette. You're better than me at doing that.
At celticmarches.com, which will lead right through to the shop, and at pulp-cider.co.uk.
Brilliant. Wish you all the best for the future. Maybe if we have you back in a year, it'll be fascinating to see what's happened in the low alcohol drinks market generally, and for your fabulous ciders. That would be good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, Collette and Sue from Celtic Marches. Thank you.
Thank you, Janey. Bye-bye.
So don't forget, there is a chance as well to win some, like a whole pack of Celtic Marches cider. I think it's worth about $26.99, something like that. So it's a really nice pack that we've got to give away, and you've got to be in it to win it. Don't forget any of that stuff. As promised, let's talk being a vegan, anti-aging, going from rock bottom right to happiness. I'm really pleased to say my guest is Lorri Delahunty, who has the Vegan Happy clothing brand. I'm really looking forward to hearing about that. And such a fascinating story. I loved reading about the fact that you were a finalist in Ireland's most beautiful vegan over 50 competition. How cool is that?
Yeah, UK and Ireland, it was so funny. It was just a lovely thing that happened in lockdown. It was just...
Love it. Anyways, welcome. So before we talk about vegan happy clothing, which I love the sound of, tell us a little bit about your story, because I know what's kind of interesting about you is that it's not all been plain sailing, right? You've had your moments, including a brush with the booze, to say the least. So take us back in time.
Oh my God, so much really. So I think the most significant change was I got to 50 and I just had to take stock a little bit, really. It wasn't that, I looked at anything. It was just, I don't know, an epiphany happened. And I read what you write on your website about just, you felt like booze was stealing your joy. And that's sort of like what I felt, really. Nothing had made me quit before. I'd nearly died a couple of times. But it was just, I think I just got tired of it all. I think I sort of like felt like my energy was going and I was just being...
Can I just chip in there and ask, am I right in thinking your family were all big drinkers, so this was something that you kind of did?
My mum and dad were definitely alcoholics.
Were they?
And alcohol was denial on one side, definitely, and my dad died quite young with breast cancer, so I can't even ask him questions about it, really. But my mum's still alive, but I grew up with a lot of drink around me, and like hidden drinking, which I didn't get to. I mean, I was quite open about, I'm having a big glass of wine, then another one, and then another one. But I was definitely heading down that road where I would have started to hide it, I think.
Yeah. So when you got to this point, then you just thought, that's it, I've had enough. What did you do then? How did you get out of that spiral?
I went to an awards do, and I sat next to this guy who had been telling me about his wife giving up smoking. Everyone was like, as soon as there was a gap, everyone ran outside to have a cigarette, and we were left on our own. There was like 1,500 people and then 2 people sort of thing. It was really funny. and I thought, I wonder if there's an Alan Carr Stop Drinking book. And there was. So I literally ordered it and read it. And I sort of like, I put it down to that, but everyone says, no, I think you were at that point. You were waiting for that little trigger. I think I just stopped having fun. I'd started to get a bit worried and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. But I literally just spoke to a random chap at an awards do and read this book. And then I just thought, you know, I need a different life, really. You know, I'm just not, like you say about the 6 o'clock witch, you know, like I would get to lunchtime and I'd be making excuses from about 11 o'clock in the morning to meet someone for lunch. You know, it was consuming a lot of money and a lot of my conscious, like, thinking time.
Yeah.
You know, like meet friends after work and then meet friends at lunchtime and, you know, what we're doing at the weekend and have I got booze in the fridge. And I think one of the best things since giving up is my thoughts aren't consumed with booze, whereas before they were very much my prevailing thought.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And how long ago was that then?
I've been sober 5 years in March.
Oh,
so,
wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then presumably before that, was it that you I think there was other stuff going on. Did your marriage break up? Am I right in thinking? So there's been some other.
Yeah, 2007, we had 7 deaths that year. Well, the 7th death was our marriage, but we had 6 family deaths.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really close people, you know, like grandparents, my husband's dad, you know, my best friends in a car crash. It was just horrific. And we just couldn't cope, really. And our marriage broke up. You know, we've been together, you know, from when we were very young, had 2 children, and we just grieved in different ways and couldn't cope. So yeah, so that was one of those things. And funny enough, when we got back together, I haven't told you that one. when we did get back together, many years later, after divorce and everything, he had never asked me to give up drinking. So we actually got back together when I was still like maximum drinking. So it was and we had a really horrible time. And that's part of the reason why the marriage broke up, really, because, you know, the way I coped was, you know, working more, losing myself in work, you know, meeting friends for drinks, you know, drowning my sorrows, if you like. And I realized that I'm a really emotional drinker. So if I was happy, I'd drink. If I was sad, I'd drink. If I was worried, I would drink. If I had a phone call I had to make to someone, you know, a brown envelope arrived in the post or something, I would have a drink before I did it. So I recognized that I was a really emotional drinker. And of course, you know, when I had all that grief, that's the first thing that I used as my crutch, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what changed for you then when you stopped? I mean, I'm guessing you saw so many benefits. We wouldn't have long enough to talk about them. But what do you remember being sort of noticeable about, you know, sort of the best stuff that came in first for you?
Yeah. I need to backtrack slightly because I'd given up for 2 months before, and a friend of mine, which I didn't think I'd do, a friend of mine spiked my drinks.
Yeah.
So he
really?
Yeah. So I thought, I can only have one. That'd be fine. I can handle this. So that taught me that I actually couldn't handle it having one. So I know now, for me, and I think with drinking generally, I think it's an all or nothing thing. I think when people say they can control it, the answer is you just can't. You know, I've got friends that go to AA like 5 times a week, and you know they still think they could have one, but they know really that you can't. If you're going to choose to give up drinking, you have to complete.
I mean, just for the record, just so you know, lots of people on the podcast will know that my take on this is that, well, number one, I never use the phrase giving up. I always say ditching the booze because you're not giving anything up, as you know. But in terms of this, can you just have one thing? I genuinely think that if you are someone who does not have an off switch, i.e. you're listening to this podcast, or you're in any way interested in this stuff, then you don't have an off switch, end of. However, if you are someone who does have an off switch, you can absolutely have one drink, just like I can have 1 kiwi fruit. Or do you know what? Tomorrow I might even have 3 kiwi fruits. And then I might not have a kiwi fruit for 3 years. No, because I'm not addicted to them. I have an off switch when it comes to kiwi fruits, and it might just mean I binge and then I forget about it. But if you don't have an off switch, you're consumed by it the whole time. So those people absolutely can't have one.
No, I completely agree with you. No, you're absolutely right. My saying is always that if you've got your handle on it, so I think you've got better terminology for it than me, but if you've got your handle on it and you can just have 1 or 2, that's great. You know, like my husband will have a couple of drinks and, you know, like he won't even finish the bottle. And like, for me, that would never have happened. I'd have always like, I've got to finish the bottle. So for me, I'm like you're saying is that I mean, I'm like that with so many things, you know. I if I'm having a little bit, I want a lot of it. You know, if I work a little bit, I'll work a lot. So I've just got that compulsive tendency that, you know, if I like something, I like it a lot. But I agree with you. You know, if you can control alcohol and you just know when to stop, like you say, I think that, why not? You know, I think we're very different people if that's the case. You know, my husband is a very different person to me, and you know, I'll actually go out with him to the pub. I love going to the pub. I absolutely love it. So, you know, we'll go to the pub on a Friday afternoon. I'll just sit there with pots of tea and have just as good a time. And I think you said a minute ago, what did I notice changed? I kept waiting for my life to be really boring. I kept waiting for all this boringness to happen, because I wouldn't be having all this fun and I wouldn't be having all these amazing times out. And then what I realized is nothing changed in the negative, but only positive changes happened. Because I had more energy, my skin started glowing, I lost 4 stone. I had
wow, lucky you. That doesn't happen to everyone.
I was drinking loads of, it was wine, so you know, I had loads of energy. I thought there was like 48 hours in every day because I had all this time. I started having time for exercise, because before, obviously, I was drinking from lunchtime, so I only had 3 hours in the morning to do anything. So yeah, I just kept waiting for all this, I don't know, boringness to happen, all this, no one inviting me out anymore, and all that stuff. And then what actually happened was the complete opposite. So, you know, I could drive places. I started doing more. I started traveling to see things, or I'd visit a restaurant 50 miles away because I didn't need to get a taxi back. And so this whole like new world opened up.
It is true, isn't it? It is a whole new world. You start to see life in all its kind of lovely technicolor, really, don't you? And you start to have the energy to do things that you wouldn't do before. It's really true. I know you kicked off into exercise as well. And, you know, and I suppose it's all about sort of you find who you really are, don't you, when you ditch the booze?
Yeah, I think you've hit on something there. Absolutely. I did have to do quite a lot of almost like soul searching when I went sober. And I don't know if you found this, but I can only describe it as, you know, as like an onion, all these layers.
Yeah.
And I had to confront quite a lot about myself that I liked and I didn't like, and I like a lot about myself. And then I had to examine quite a lot. But it made me sort of like, it made me be able to reassess things completely and decide which parts of me I wanted to discard and which parts of myself that I actually wanted to keep. So I sort of like reformed myself.
Yeah, really. So true. I know. I love that. So tell us about that. What happened with setting up the business then? How did that come about?
My dog had a bad accident one night, and I came back and I'd paid loads of money for my dog to get, you know, fixed at the vet's at 2 a.m, and went to the freezer and took chicken out. And I was like, it was like a light bulb went on, and I thought, what am I doing? So I literally, the next morning, I woke up and I thought, oh my God, I've gone vegan. I don't even like vegetables. So what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? And so that set us on the road to going vegan. And one of the first things that happens when you're vegan is you want to tell the world, really. You're super proud. And one of the things that happens, you've got loads of energy, a bit like when you quit booze, you get all this energy and you're like a newfound life. And I wanted to wear something that said, you know, I'm vegan, but everything I could find slammed meat eaters. And I didn't feel like that. I felt full of love and compassion. And so I set about designing my own, really. And I didn't expect it to take off. You know, it was probably more of an indulgence, but it's actually taken off and it's flying. And our thing is all about a really subtle logo. So you can spark the conversation with someone without someone feeling off-put. So, you know, sorry, put off. So they're not afraid to ask you. They're not afraid to come up to you, you know, and, you know, we love everyone, basically. We don't want to wear something that slams meat eaters or anything like that.
Brilliant. It's so exciting, isn't it? When I mean, I've heard this kind of story so many times when people ditch the booze and then as you say, they do get in touch with which parts of themselves they want to keep and which they don't. And then from that place, new stuff emerges, you know, people who write a book or they go back to uni or they start a business, as you say. It's absolutely amazing. Do you think you would have done that if you hadn't stopped drinking?
No, I don't think so. I think I was going down a path that I'd set and I was very much trapped in it. You know, I was trapped in the earning, I was trapped in the, you know, the mindset that I had, very much money chasing, client chasing, like agency world, that sort of thing. No, it was definitely, it came from the ditching drink. It came from the awakening.
From your passion, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I like giving up the drink was such a rebirth. I can only think that, you know, it definitely came from that. And, you know, you start examining so many parts of yourself. You know, you get fitter, you get healthier, you wear different things, you know, you feel different, you look in the mirror and you look different. And for me, I think my mind was so bogged down with childhood. I don't like to use the word trauma because I think a lot of people had worse childhoods than me, but, you know, lack of confidence and negativity and stuff like that. And when that goes, you sort of got this big open road and you think there's nothing. I felt like there was nothing I couldn't do. You know, I have the drinking now, so there's nothing I couldn't do. And going back to it, I just felt like I had 48 hours in every day. And to be honest, I needed something to fill my time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other thing that happens to people. What am I going to do with all this time? I know, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Just talk to me a little bit about the whole, you know, I mean, we started off by saying that you were part of this, you were voted, I've lost where it said, most beautiful vegan over 50 competition. I love the whole sound of that. That's great. I mean, you know, there is still a thing, isn't there, about women as we get older? You know, are we still beautiful? How do we, you know, respond to it? It's such a thing, this. And again, I think that sobriety really impacts on this massively. It was one of the really big things for me before I ditched the booze, was that I was so afraid of getting old. I mean, really afraid and very depressed about it, because I couldn't see anything other than a future where I looked so much worse and I felt so much worse. And there was it felt as though nothing was ever going to get any better. You know, it was only going to go further south and I was only going to continue to look worse. And there's just there still is this perception that I don't know how much of it is other people's perception and how much of it is us, as it were. But all I know is it's completely changed. And now, you know, I can like myself and I am excited about the future. And so what if there's wrinkles and I'm a bit overweight? I mean, so what? Actually, so what? I never thought I'd hear myself say that. What's your take on this, you know, older women thing?
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, like, I'm looking at you now in a podcast and I've seen your pictures, and the reason why you shine, like you say, is because you've got this inner light. And I think inner light comes from that you loving yourself now. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I didn't love myself and now I do. And sometimes people think that's a bad thing, and it's not. It's the best thing. And it doesn't mean you think you are the most beautiful vegan, because I thought that was such a funny thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, isn't it? But it's great. Yeah,
it's so tongue-in-cheek. And the contestants were all so varied. You know, we were by no means the most beautiful vegans out there. I think every person's so beautiful. But if I look at you, I can see you have an inner light, you know, and I think that comes from just being so much more secure in ourselves, which comes when we ditch drink, you know, we find out who we really are and what we want. And one of the things that happened to me is that I don't generally wear makeup now. Which I would probably never have done before. In fact, one of my friends said to me, "Oh, Lorri, you used to be so glamorous." And I think that was my insecurity, meaning that I could only present this like uber polished look for the world. And I'd never gone out without makeup, without everything, just, you know, like the latest stuff, you know, designer handbags, you know, just up to the nines. Whereas now, you know, I've got dungarees on today, I've got a t-shirt, you know, I've got a little bit of makeup on today, but generally I don't wear makeup because it is very much a take me or leave me now. If you love me, you're getting the real me, and I will never let you down. You know, if you don't really like me, then that's absolutely fine.
Yeah,
that definitely came with stopping drinking and fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I heard, I think it might have been Caitlin Moran actually, talking about, I think she wrote about it in her book, about how women tend to compartmentalize their body and, you know, have this kind of hatred for a certain part or more than one part. But we think of ourselves as disconnected parts. You know, so we're constantly walking around, you know, oh, I hate my cellulite thighs, and oh, I hate my bingo wings, or whatever it is, you know, terribly kind of destructive, negative language. Whereas actually, we should, guys don't do that, do they? Men don't do that about their bodies. Why can't we just see the whole? And I think we're more able to do that actually when we're able to, it just sounds like sobriety is the magic cure-all. Well, it really is. So there you go. Because it does help you have a different perspective of gratitude. So, I'm now grateful for my body. Who cares if there's some, wobbly bits?
No, exactly. And I think there's an Oscar Wilde quote I love. And he said, there's only one thing worse than getting older. And he said, that's not getting older.
Yeah, so true.
And I live by that now because, I did nearly die a couple of times just from the booze. And
did you really? Did it get that bad?
Right. One time, broke my arm so badly it was internal bleeding another time, and
wow,
loads of like knocking myself out, falling over, just like breaking my wrist, like loads of stuff. But I think for me now I am actually really genuinely grateful just to be here. Genuinely. But also going back to what you were just saying a second ago, I think that we never see ourselves as other people see us.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think when people like look at you or they look at me or they look at anyone that they think is in any way like inspirational like this, because people will look at you as being very inspirational because you are very, the Sober Club is fantastic, and what you're doing is fantastic. To help people see that it's not this great leap that they think it is. It's actually quite a small step if they're ready to take that step.
Yeah.
But when people look at us, they see a different person to the ones that we see. So we need to learn to see ourselves how maybe the world sees us, because rather than
it's so true. And also, the being a bit kinder to ourselves. I mean, that definitely happens when you stop drinking, doesn't it? I think sober people are more kind generally, but you do learn more about self-care. Obviously, that's my work through and through now, is that I'm trying to encourage people towards self-care. And one of the best ways to take care of yourself is just to have the same thoughts and the same forgiveness as you would for someone you love, right? Someone you love unconditionally. But we're so hard on ourselves. We really are. Even now, I catch myself sometimes. We still have to kind of remind ourselves, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyways, tell us a little bit more about the brand then, what kind of clothes there are, and tell us where we can find them.
Yeah, so they're all which fitted perfectly with lockdown, not that it was done that way, but more casual, like loungewear stuff. So we've got joggers, workout gear, t-shirts, hoodies. We have our most popular stuff is puffer jackets and beanies and stuff like that.
And what makes it vegan then? Are we talking the fabrics, the dyes as well?
Yeah, so a lot of our stuff is PETA approved and 100% vegan, RAP certified, fair wear, fair trade. The few elements that aren't, so like for example, our puffer jackets are actually made with a recycled polyester. Mm-hmm. So it's not 100% cotton, but they are filled with recycled plastic. They're made with recycled plastic. So we try and be as vegan as possible. But
so there'll be people who are thinking, so why is cotton not vegan?
Exactly. A lot of clothes you get are vegan anyway, because as long as you look at the materials, everything like that, as long as it doesn't contain an animal product, it can be classed as vegan. But if you look at what we as a vegan think about the whole thing, it comes into how it's made.
Yeah, sustainability is so important.
Female representation, workers' rights, workers' rights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the fact that you're doing that, because that's the piece so many people forget, isn't it? You have to look beyond that label. I remember years ago in my very first book, which was God knows 15 years ago, I was writing about the fact that people kind of you wouldn't even think of something like cotton, and yet when you actually look at what it takes in terms of resources to make regular cotton that you buy for less than the price of a coffee sometimes. Yeah, it's fascinating. So tell us where we can find the clothes.
So we're at veganhappyclothing.co.uk.
Brilliant. I love it. Thank you so much, Lorri. It's really good to chat to you, and I look forward to checking out the clothes and more of your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Lorri. Just a reminder then, if you do want connection, support, inspiration, accountability, check it out, thesoberclub.com. It is all there. I know I keep banging on about it, but it's low cost, it's incredible value, for what you get and, for what you're paying. And it makes a real difference in people's lives. So have a look. Don't forget our Sober by the Sea event. We've got our Champneys event coming up too, but that one is sold out. But there is another one at Champneys Tring in November. I think it's November the 20th. So have a look at that as well. If you just go to thesoberclub.com, click on events, and it will give you the number to call or the link there to have a look. But don't forget, you can always drop me a message as well. If you are just starting out on this journey, if you're kind of new to it and you're still feeling a little bit wobbly and a little bit kind of caught in the headlights, don't try and do this alone. Whichever group you decide to join, doesn't have to be mine. There's loads of support out there. But do reach out and get some support. And tell someone you're doing it. Don't try and do it all on your own. Maybe not someone in your family. They may not be the best person to tell, because, you really want to connect with someone who's been through it and has had shared experiences. Because, there's a lot of questions you have in the early days. So do share this with someone who cares. You can always send me a message. I love getting your feedback for the podcast, and I love hearing from people saying, listen, you finally worn me down, Janey. I've listened to 5 podcasts, or I've listened to your whole back catalogue, and I'm going to do it now. It's time. I love getting messages like that. So make sure you share this with someone. Make sure you make your commitment, and make sure you take care of yourself. The self-care piece is absolutely key. And obviously, if you need a bit of extra support, I do offer one-to-one coaching. I've got very, very limited slots, but that is something that I offer as well. So stay in touch. Have yourself a great week, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.